4 of us on here?
It looks like 5.
Yeah, we have 5.
Correct, 5.
Yeah, we have 5.
Oh, I hear David. Okay, I didn't see David. Fantastic.
And Monique. Yeah.
I was going to leave my video off. If it's okay, so that way I can focus on trying to take notes.
Great, but if you participate, David, please turn your video on as you're speaking as a commissioner, so the audience can see you when you're speaking. Okay.
You got it.
How this production is going to be right now is that whoever's speaking is who will be seen outside of us on Zoom. Okay,
Gotcha.
Does that make sense to everybody? All right, well, we have a quorum, so I would like to officially call the monthly Humboldt County Human Rights Commission meeting to order at 5:02 p.m. Thursday, January 7th. And I would like to read a brief introduction that we will discuss later in this meeting, but it was written by Commissioner Byrd Lochte. We acknowledge that the land on which we are gathered today is ancestral territory of the Wiyot people, surrounded by the traditional and ancestral homeland of other indigenous nations, including the Hupa, Karuk, Matol, Talawa, Walakiki, and Yurok that make up Humboldt County. We come with the respect and the gratitude to the tribes. We thank and honor the indigenous caretakers of this land who continue to cherish and protect it, as elders have instructed the young through generations. And we continue to protect the rights of the land and all the people who live on it. The Humboldt County Human Rights Commission is a county commission of volunteers appointed by the Board of Supervisors. The purpose of the commission is to aid in the eradication and the discrimination in the county in cases of employment, public services, housing, race, religious creed, color, national origin, ancestry, physical or mental disability, marital status, gender, sexual orientation, socioeconomic status, civil unrest, and other factors. The Commission's responsibilities include investigating complaints of human rights violations, recommending possible remedies, eradicating county residents or educating county residents about human rights, gathering information and opinions from residents, making recommendations to the County Board of Supervisors, and presenting an annual report of commission activities and the state of human rights in the county to the Board of Supervisors. So I want to thank you all for tuning in, and we will take roll. Lalania Dubois, Chair, I'm here. Byrd Lochte. Byrd.
Here. Sorry, I was muted. Here.
Eddie Morgan.
Present.
David Haney.
Present.
All right. Do we have Monique Harper Desiere?
Present.
Do we have Lisa Sundberg? All right. Oh, absent for the moment. What about Erin Rowe?
Erin Rowe just communicated and she needed the address and I sent it to her. So there she is. Or I don't know. She might be coming in soon.
All right. Well, we'll give her a minute to come in and go back around.
There she is.
Erin Rowe, are you here?
Yes.
Present.
Thank you. Scott Davies is on an excused absence.
All right.
Is Carol Larson at the moment? What about Erin Rowe?
Here.
Erin Rowe just communicated and she needed the address and I sent it to her. So there she is.
Do you
Or I
see
don't know.
her?
She
That
might be
is
coming in soon.
All right. Well, we'll give her a minute to come in and go back around.
You don't see me? Do you see me?
Erin Rowe, are you here?
Do you see me?
Is there?
Can you see me or hear me?
Okay, I think we're on a delay. Let's see. Did
Yeah,
that
we've
go
got a
out?
really weird thing
An
coming on.
excused absence.
All right.
Is Carol Larson.
I'm gonna
What
go
about
and come
Erin
back.
Rowe?
Can you
Erin
see or hear
Rowe
me?
just communicated and she needed the address and I sent it to her. So there she is.
Does somebody have their, is someone on Facebook So are we getting a double feedback?
Yeah.
All right, I think we're good. All right. Woo, nothing like surfing.
I could hear Aaron. I just also heard the replay of things.
Yeah.
I think let's see what happens when Aaron comes back in. All right, Aaron, could you speak so we could see
Yes,
if that,
can you-
are we getting a double feedback?
Can you see or hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm getting
All
a
right, I think we're
loop.
good.
I'm getting a loop, like everyone's, the things that
All
people are
right.
saying. Okay,
Woo, nothing like surfing.
I
right.
could hear Aaron. I just also
Uh-oh.
replay of things. I think I'm still getting the loop again.
Aaron, could you see what happens? Oh, this is a mess.
You're not seeing or hearing me again?
All right, Aaron, hearing you, and as soon as you get on, we're having a loop that won't stop.
Can you see or hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
But it's Okay, on great. this constant loop.
I'm getting
All right, I think we're
loop.
good. Aaron, I'm sorry, but can you maybe go on mute and we could see if that doesn't. Okay, that the loop stopped with Aaron on mute. Am I correct in that?
I don't hear the loop anymore.
Okay, so Aaron, I know you can hear me. Maybe maybe your Facebook is on or you
Yes,
have.
I just turned that off. Yes.
There we go. Okay, so let's get through roll call. Lisa Sundberg just came on.
Hi,
Thank you, Lisa, you're here. And then one last chair member, I don't see Larry Miller. Okay, so first thing on the agenda is, did all commissioners, were you able to take a look at the draft minutes from our last meeting?
Yes.
And comments, Bird?
David, you're doing a great job,
Mhm.
but the minutes that I have say November 5th instead of December 3rd.
Yes, thank you, Bird. And since I have indeed updated that, and thank you.
Good. And then under 12B, you have in capital letters, more notes here. And I don't know whether you added anything there or if that should come out.
No, I need to. I'm actually going to review the entire last meeting and get some more notes in there and make sure that, because there's some other adjustments that I see that Lelani has made, and I want to make sure that the information for the Human Trafficking Committee and the Sanctuary Ordinance and Human Rights Cannabis Inquiry Committee are accurate. I want to make sure it's solid. So, so yes, indeed.
Okay.
Awesome. So maybe what we need to do is move to approve the minutes to the next meeting, and so that you can continue to work on them and we can review them when they're done.
And I have one more
Okay,
thing. Under E, Kindness Ad Hoc Committee, the name of the doctor is not Heitken. I'm not exactly sure what it is, and I need to look that up for you, but I think it's Heiden, Heiden. But Heitken is not correct. So we need to get that corrected before we approve the minutes. So I'll get that to you, David, as soon as I can find it.
Okay, thank you very much, Bird. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right. So Bird, would we make a motion to move the minutes to the next agenda?
I don't think you need to have a motion. You just say there's no motion
Okay.
to approve them, so we will approve them next time.
Okay, sounds good. I got to put my glasses back on. All right. Next item on the agenda is, are there any adjustments to be made to the agenda? No? All right. Then I think what we get to do is we have a guest presentation tonight here to help share with us and educate with us, acknowledging and understanding historical and current racial concepts and a path forward. I want to thank and welcome Corey Lamberts. He's the program developer for Humboldt State African American Center and the correspondent specialist for Project Rebound. Hey, Corey, thank you so much for taking your time out to help share with us and the broader community what you have. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm super excited to be here and see you all. There's a few familiar faces and some faces I haven't seen before, so I'm definitely looking forward to getting to know everybody and working with everybody. And yeah, thank you so much for having me. Lelani, you actually had started with the land acknowledgement. That was super awesome. I'm under like the education of Kutcha Risling Baldy right now at HSU. She's a wonderful educator person, and she's been like teaching me a lot. And so I have a land acknowledgement worked into mine also. And yeah, I'm just super excited to learn and share with you all. So we'll get into it. I will begin with the land acknowledgement to respect the land we reside on and the people who still live here today. Currently, the county building resides in Jarujiji, meaning the place where you sit and rest in Wiyot. The Wiyot people have lived in the Humboldt Bay region for thousands of years prior to colonization, and despite mass efforts of genocide, still remain here today. Throughout active management with resources, cultural burnings, plant cultivation, strict hunting protocols, the Wiyot people lived in a system of reciprocity with nature, cultivating this area to be the abundant source of resources that we have seen exploited and are still exploited today. My name is Corey, like Lelani said. I'm a senior environmental studies major at Humboldt State. I'm currently the program developer of the African American Center and the correspondence specialist of Project Rebound, which is a statewide consortium with the focus of assisting formerly and currently incarcerated students returning into higher education and lowering recidivism rates throughout the state. In my education and work, I'm committed to building lasting programs for food and land liberation for our students and ultimately the disenfranchised communities of this area. My life as a stolen African currently located in Wiyot territory provides me with the honor and duty to highlight the ways in which systematic oppression and disenfranchisement have been used as a tool of genocide against the Native and Black communities alike, but specifically in Humboldt County. From the massacre of Tuluwat Island to the dredging of the bay, the damming of the rivers, and ultimately the destruction of salmon population, the presence of cash crop industries in this area actively destroys the way of life. The majority of us here today benefit from the act of destruction and erasure, not realizing it will soon affect the way of life for every resident within Humboldt County, as we begin to see the lasting effects of environmental degradation take a toll. The rush mentality that is present within today's industries has its foundation in the gold rush and has evolved into industries that we see today. This rush mentality has caused a depletion of resources and profited off the exploitation of the environment and people. We've seen this mentality replicated within today's modern cannabis industry. Without critical analysis and work to actively dismantle these harmful patterns, we will continue to see cycles of land and human exploitation recreated. And this kind of brings me more into what we're talking about specifically today, and it's the lack of the current state of education. The current state of education within Humboldt County is greatly lacking, and the numbers articulate that fact. According to the ACLU report, roughly 85% of Native students in Humboldt County graduated in 2018 and 2019, but only 90% of those graduates did not meet the entrance requirements for California universities. Initially hearing that ACLU report, I assumed it was bad, but when I looked throughout it, it was like much worse than I could have imagined. Throughout the extensive 44-page report, the results in some sections really left me speechless. The fact that only 1% of Native students in Humboldt County met A to G requirements in 2017 and 2018, I thought was absolutely unacceptable, and I definitely want to help do something about it. For a long time, the narrative of crime and drugs has been pushed through this fascist police state propaganda, and I think it's time that we unite as a people and turn our focus to the foundation of the community, which is the youth. The statistics for Native students stand far from the median scores of their peers, and all Humboldt County students are statistically underperforming in comparison to their peers throughout California. This issue affects Native children disproportionately. However, the issue of systematic lacking in our school system affects all children in Humboldt County. It is no speculation that rates of incarceration have a direct link to poor education. When looking at the current city situation on the city streets of Humboldt County, we need to realize our problem is starting with the lack of education provided for children and evolving into systematic problems within our community. Mass incarceration affects both the Native and Black communities in this area disproportionately from their peers. This is where I find my intersection and empathy for my Native brothers and sisters. Myself, like many of my friends, have growing up accumulating a criminal record that bars us from being a complete part of this society. I am thankful to have had powerful people and experiences that have urged me into a path for success, and admittedly, this came with a piece of privilege that I know not everybody shares. As we begin to analyze the polarity of systems in Humboldt, first looking at education, next incarceration, and finally policing, it's no surprise to me that there's a lacking in education on all levels. When looking at the myriad of errors and missteps taken by the Arcata Police Department, lack in training and preparedness mirrored a system that doesn't value education from top to bottom. It appears that there's blissful ignorance insulated by privilege neatly wrapped into a bow behind the redwood curtain here. The complete series of events surrounding the 2017 death of Josiah Lawson and the incompetent mismanagement of the Arcata police force resulted in numerous errors, reports by the FBI, to the man who was set on fire on church steps the same year and never arrested. I'm left to wonder what the true problem with crime here is in Humboldt County. So as we think to move forward in implementing systems and to make systematic change that will benefit Humboldt County as a community, I believe it's imperative that we focus at the lack of education for our youth, and more specifically, the indigenous youth of this area. It's actions like you all here today and us all in this room that will put us on a path towards properly educating the youth in Humboldt County so that they can all receive the education that they deserve. The problems we are facing stem directly from the colonization process that have happened historically in this area. And by not fully articulating the history, we allow the narrative to be diluted. We must be clear and deliberate. The lack of resources for Native youth replicates the genocidal tactics that have been used in history. It's time to put a stop to this, and I believe that's why we're all here. In closing, I would like to acknowledge that hearing this information I've shared today may create some visceral emotions within you, possibly positive or negative. I would like to clearly articulate that the attempt to shame or create guilt within anyone was not the intent, and that is not the focus of this. However, I'm here to learn with you all, help educate you with what I know, inspire and be part of the spur that implements lasting programs that will actively better our community and lift up the systematically disenfranchised youth of our local Native communities. So thank you all for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Corey, for taking the time out to speak with us. I'd like to open the floor up to the commission for any questions or comments for Corey. Bird.
I'd like to know, Corey, do you have any specific suggestions that we could do, things that we might be able to do to move forward with what we and what you're saying we need to do?
I just found out about this article recently, the ACLU report, and I had known that like education wasn't very good in this area for the youth in general, and I didn't realize like the severity of it. And so I'm new into organizing and all these things. I'm still working on graduating right now. I guess what I'm thinking to do is I personally myself definitely want to become a teacher and start helping to educate, but I think programs and supporting teachers and getting funding to these schools is what we need. It looks like a lot of the schools are understaffed and under-resourced. So there we go, back on track. I think really that's what I think we need to see. I think that these schools need resources, they need support. It looks like a lot of them don't have psychologists and psychiatrists and these things like that for their nurses. And so a lot of the ways in which the curriculum is set up in these schools doesn't harbor a good environment for students to learn. And I think specifically Native students to learn with the history of the boarding schools and the history of how their culture was stripped from them through our formal education and religion processes. I think in areas specifically like Humboldt, we need to have some sort of extra sensitivity training towards that, or we need to have some sort of extra programs, I think, to go above and beyond, because just the format of a school, I think inherently is going to be off-putting to a lot of people, and especially like the Native communities.
So
I hope that answered your question.
Perhaps if, I mean, one of the things that we can do is make recommendations to the Board of Supervisors, which is the county. In the past, the Humboldt County Office of Education has been the entity that has provided nurses and psychologists and so forth. So you're suggesting that possibly that might be a recommendation that we could make to the Board of Supervisors, that money needs to be put into those specific things?
Yeah, I definitely think having those added resources would be beneficial. And yeah, throughout the reports, it just looked like a lot of the numbers in Humboldt County were just not like up to par. And so I think just funding in schools and a focus in building more programs for our youth and things like that are going to be big. And I think definitely it'll be big. I think if we can get ahead of like a lot of these problems as people are children still, all different types of things, I think starting with children will be the right way to do it. And so I think getting as many resources that direction as possible.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, any other commissioners, any comments or questions for Corey?
It's Lisa. Thank you.
Hang on, I can't see everybody. Why can't I see everybody on here? But go ahead, Lisa.
You want here? Hi.
There you are.
I'm still in my hat and pigtails, so
You look great.
Thanks, Corey. I appreciate the work and the study that you did on that and bringing that to the surface. It's time for this kind of information to come forward. And Mom's sitting here, I had her listening in, so she'll, when it's public comment time, she'll want to chime something in. But she did echo that the Black community has really risen, and they were, and so we're like, what is it that they got to do that we've missed? Because I look at our own stats at home, just my own community, the highest unemployment rancheria in all of Northern California. That bothers me. I want to see more entrepreneurship programs and just teachings, and I do like trainings, but I think resources, I think, is most important. We need mentorship. Sometimes the school system isn't exactly the right way for us to learn and become effective in our own communities. A lot of that's going to end up coming from again, like I said, a mentor protege type of models, I believe. But anyway,
I'll drop my email in the chat, and I would love to collaborate however we can. And any sort of mentor programs I would love to be a part of. Whatever you have, I would love to definitely help out. And yeah, I want to bridge that gap between the school and the community. I think that we're in a silo at Humboldt State. We have all these resources. We have one of the best Native American Studies department, but how are our local communities still lacking? So I want to help bridge that gap.
We need business acumen. We need acumen in the places that really make it effective. Just for one example, just to take an idea and to implement it, a lot of us are full of ideas. I'm on a board of directors full of ideas, but we weren't getting the execution of it, and we couldn't figure out why. I mean, it really makes a difference on who you hire, who's at the table with you. And I'm seeing that just it's almost like an implementer, somebody who is an executor of ideas. That is a whole different acumen. It's really kind of seeing those models. It's really going to make a difference. So I think things like that. So providing resources to help us get there. Like I said, I go back to mentorship. That's way if I would have known that my uncle was one of the last of the 5 dialects of the Yurok language, I completely missed that whole opportunity, because how I don't learn by books, and they were trying to create an alphabet, and I couldn't figure out how to learn that way, and so, but I went to Paris, and guess what? I learned how to speak after three months of just total immersion. But there was a program. I mean, it's now, it wasn't touted at that time, but and it's the missed opportunity to even pull our language forward, because we were supposed to have an extinct language since 2010, something like that. But it gets really close. But in revitalizing our culture is a whole nother thing too. I would say, if you're going to focus on something like that, it's, all the ways to do that and to keep the stories alive, the history. The last batch of people that were connected to the ones that lived the old ways and grew up with them, I wish there was some kind of funding that would be available for that. We need historians, the people that know how to geek out on that. Some people that live with those people don't know how to do that. So we need formats and models to go after.
So I really appreciate this conversation, you guys, but we do have to make sure that we meet everything on our agenda, and we do have a lot of new business. This seems to me like a conversation that really needs to be continued in our ad hoc committee of racism, anti-racism, and cultural awareness that David is chairing. Corey,
agree.
I want to thank you. You gave a lot of great ideas. What I'm really hearing, and I'm hearing through a lot of our community, is I love the sensitivity education. You know, we need to start talking about real history. And I think when you teach the truth, then you can grow from the truth. And I think that's something that maybe the racism, anti-racism and cultural awareness committee could talk to you about more in depth and bring it to us as a commission. Any more comments, Bird, and anyone else before? Bird, go ahead. And then if anyone else on the commission has any comments, we'll move to public comment. If not, Bird.
I'm just wondering if that committee would want to ask Corey to meet with them, to be part of the committee, because we talked about our committees, our ad hoc committees, having community members as part of the committee and work with us. And Corey has such a background and wealth of knowledge. She'd be one of those mentors that Lisa's talking about, if he would be willing.
David, do you have any last comments before we move on to public comment?
Yes, indeed. I first want to say I agree with what you guys are saying. And Corey and I have been building a bit and going towards this direction. And so I want to first thank Corey for your time and labor in giving your voice to this commission. And what you said earlier, I'm so glad that these kinds of conversations have been spurred in this community at this point, because like Lisa said, it's necessary and it's time. And so thank you again, because you're coming from your heart, and that's what we need community members to do, to come forward, so that way the rest of the community can get an honest feeling from everybody of what's going on, and what people are feeling. And so thank you again, Corey, for blessing us with your time. I really appreciate it. And yeah, that was it. Pass.
All right. Well, I would like to request, David, that you make sure when you call your next meeting for the ad hoc committee that you invite Corey, so that you can utilize all that passion and energy, and we can figure something out.
Indeed, you got it.
All right. All right. All right. Let's move on to our next agenda item. Eddie, it is time for public comment on non-agenda items. Do we have any public comment on non-agenda items?
No, we do not. We have 19 shares, but we do not have any comments.
Okay. Does anyone who is on Zoom, and I will put us in gallery view, wish to make any public comments at this time on non-agenda items? All right, I will move forward on to the next order of business, which is Commissioner Communications. Tonight, Bird and Eddie are going to help us all, because we've got 3 new commissioners, and we're working hard as a commission on creating standard operating procedures. So as we grow, everybody can kind of follow the same steps. So today, Vice Chair Morgan and Commissioner Lochte are going to have a conversation around how we function and communicate.
Well, thank you, Lelena, Chair. And Bird, would you like to start, or?
Go right ahead. You're the communication guy.
Yes, I am. So first of all, I want to say that we all have a lot of talent in this group, and we have a lot of people that have great ideas and do a lot of great stuff. But it's important for us to function as a team, and that's why we have a lot of the protocols and then thoughts that we do in order so we can act as a team. Lisa was talking about execution, and that's how you get that execution. When we work as a team, when we have one voice, we're much more powerful. And so a lot of the different protocols that we're going to talk about is that is the objective. And so one of the things that we believe strongly for the community to build trust is to have transparency. And the way we do that in many different ways, but one of the ways we do that transparency is by putting everything on our public calendars. Anytime we have a meeting, we put it on our public calendar. So there's no confusion of who, which people are meeting and who are those people. So that way, the other thing that we also do, which I'll go a little further in later on, is that anytime we have a meeting, we have a record of it. Bird, do you want to come in here and talk about some other things, and then we can kind of go back and forth?
Yes, I want to talk about how the commission communicates to the public, and that is through the chair. Anytime someone asks you a question because you're a commissioner and says, well, I would like to interview you, the first thing you should do is refer that person to the chair, unless the chair has appointed you to be the person to talk about a specific thing. For example, might have appointed Eddie to be the person to talk about our meetings and how they're recorded and how we have the transparency. But normally, anytime someone wants to know something about the commission, it goes through the chair. If you're asked a question and you want to talk about something, you need to say, I am giving you my own opinion. This is not the commission. The only time you can say anything about the commission is if you report an action that the commission has already taken and approved. Then you can report that to anybody. I mean, that's part of being transparent and letting the community know what we've done. But you don't give your opinion. For example, you would not say, well, the commission decided to do this, but I didn't agree. You're not, that's in the record if you voted against it, but you're not going to be out there in the public saying that. So designating someone to speak for the commission is the chair's responsibility. The chair really is the spokesperson for the commission, and we all need to respect that.
I know one of the experience on Bird's Vein is that a lot of times when you're in the community, you really want to do good things. And sometimes you might promise something, and you never want to promise something that you can't accomplish. So the one thing that we can promise, and I had this drilled in with me when I was in the foreign countries and representing, was, I promised that I will bring it back to the chair. I'll bring it back to the board. That's a really good way. And that way, because when we make decisions, when we talk in one voice, that's basically the group saying, hey, this is what we agree with, and that goes through the chair. Bird, do you have any other comments that?
Well, the chair delegates things also, not just speaking for it, but the chair will delegate something to a different committee. Committees are working on something that's been designated to them by the commission or by the chair, and then report back to the commission. No action is taken, public action is taken unless it's the commission as a whole. The committees make recommendations to the commission, but they don't make a decision. They make a decision in their own committee to make a recommendation. So that needs to be very clear. The committee can't say that this is what the commission will do. The committee can only refer it to the commission for a final approval. So committees also should function like a small commission with minutes and a record of what you're doing, so that, again, that's part of what Eddie is talking about with the transparency. Everything that we do is open to the public. We are as transparent as we can be.
So talking about the nitty gritty stuff, so anytime you're on a commission, you always want to CC the KM email that we have, because that email is open to everybody. Everything that goes there stays there, and we can search it. So if you are on it, just go ahead and CC KM. And what I always recommend, the way I described it before, was if you have something you say, hey, I would like the chair's input, you want to get, or maybe something, then go ahead and email it. But if you're just doing a really boring conversation of, I don't know, are we going to have coffee or tea or something that you think is irrelevant, but you still want to record it, then you send it, you just CC the KM. And then the other thing that we want to look at is the calendars. We have a public calendar, and everybody, all the commissioners have permissions. And if you need any assistance, we can show you how to do it. But let's have the meetings that we have on the calendar. So if we have to go back in time and how did we get to a particular, these were the different meetings that we had. These are the people that were there. And here, as Bert talked, here are the minutes. Here, what was discussed, and here's some of the transactions that went on. I think besides that, Lelena, is there anything, or Bert?
I just wanted to say a little more about the minutes.
Yes.
Minutes have specific things that must be in them. You need to say when it was, what time, where, who was there, guests if we had guests, and so forth. You have to record any action. If someone moves something and seconded and it's voted on, that must be in your minutes. But all the discussion about things really doesn't have to be in the minutes unless it's maybe enumerating three different things, three suggestions that you want to bring to the full commission, something like that, if from a committee. But the actions are what are really important. And again, that's what you can go back to. If you want to talk about something, you can go back to the minutes. And if something was approved and it's there in the minutes saying this was the motion, this was the vote, you can report that to someone. You can tell them that that is what happened.
The only thing, there was two things that I want to add. One of them is escaping my mind at the moment, but I want to talk more about the emails and some of the procedures that we came up with yesterday. You know, we talk about the HHR email versus the Gmails. And what we determined, because as chair right now, I have a lot of work and I need support. And so, but in order to protect us and to streamline communication, we have one public email. So in order to make that easier, we came up with one. First of all, the chair of every committee is responsible to create the templates to those communications for the chair of the commission to send out. And then what the chair of the commission will do is in that email, when they're communicating for that committee, they will also pull in that committee chair and pass off that communication so that chair can also be communicating, keep everyone in the loop. But then, so David, so you would have leadership point of communication for your point of contact from your committee quickly. We would still initiate contact through the HHR email, but I would include you, and then you would continue that communication through your secretary Gmail. Does that make sense to everyone on the commission?
Let me, so basically, because you know, a lot of times I'm not a very smart person, so things have to be explained to me in a very simple way. And the way I would try to explain it is that once you have that initial first email, that HHR email, and that person's delegated, then you can be yourself. So if you're the finance person, once you have that first initial email, then you can become and just write yourself as so you use your own email address. I don't know if that makes any more sense.
Well, yeah, no, because that was part of the streamlined communication aspect that we came up with it. So for the officers, because not everybody has a commission email, but if you're an officer and you have a commission Gmail account, you use that only for internal communications. If you're working externally, use your personal account so it doesn't confuse that common voice as a team. And so the public knows when they want to speak to the commission, they go to the HHR email, but whoever you're working with through the commission, you know, they know to contact you personally. Does that make sense?
And I think the best thing is if you have any questions, I think all three of us would be more than happy to talk about it and things like that. And sometimes these things just take a little bit of doing and working them out. Nobody's expecting everybody to be perfect. And so it just takes a little practice and time.
Yeah, and we're also, one of the things that we want to do is create a map. So it's not like, it's like, because I get confused. Oh, what am I supposed to do here? But so we could go into the Google Drives and go, oh, here's the, the map, and here's point A, point B, and oh, if this is happening now, I send it here. So we'll have more standard operating procedures that we can refer to in our records. And also, I want to mention that, this commission is constantly growing and transitioning and learning. And every year we go over our policies and update these things. So new commissioners, if you see things that we're not doing, that great, or, we need to improve upon, then please, this is a continual process, and your input is incredibly important in order for us to grow and move effectively.
I would want to say one more thing on that. We talked about the shared drive and the folders. Once, if you are a chair of a committee and you have your folder called under that after that is your space. You can do not with anything, but that is your space. You can, put anything, just feel free to put what you want in there. That's your space. So, don't be shy in there.
All right. Any questions? Any more additions, Eddie or Bird? All right, this is going to be a continuous conversation as we digitally develop too, everybody. I only have one other added thing that I wanted to share with everybody, and that is that our last month was Human Rights Awareness Month, and our proclamation was accepted and read by the city of Fortuna, the city of Eureka, and the city of Arcata, and I just wanted to give them a shout out and a thanks for supporting us during that month. Commissioners, do any of you have any other communications or events or anything that you would like to share with us and our community participating?
If I may, I'd like to share, I just want to make sure that the community is keeping apprised of the very meaningful series of conversations that are happening, that are being led by Dr. Kutcha Risling-Baldy, Virgil Moorhead with Two Feathers, and to my understanding also Dr. Rain Marshall. I'm gonna just in the chat provide the link, and I'm getting this literally from the Lost Coast Outposts article on their last event. It contains the link, the Zoom meeting access credentials for the next meeting on January 21st. And so I'm just gonna put that in the chat and ask if I can put that in the meeting notes, or if I need to, or what's the best.
So what I would do is make sure that it gets incorporated into the minutes, but I would also get any information you have and post it on our Facebook page with the link and everything, so everybody has access to it.
Gotcha.
And David, I don't know if you're able to, and if you're not, it's something we need to remedy, but as an officer, you should have posting access and administrative access to our Facebook page. So if you don't, and we, if you can't just go make that happen, then you, Eddie and I need to talk to IT and make that happen.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll follow up with Eddie.
Yep, perfect.
All commissioners, FYI, all commissioners should be sharing information that is relevant to what's on our agenda on our Facebook as they feel. It would be nice if you all posted something at least once or twice a month. Okay, any more reports or anything that anyone would like to share before we move on to emails and phone calls?
Just real quick, Lay, if you share something or you tag us in a Facebook announcement of the Human Rights Commission meetings, does that still reach my people, or do I have to share it?
So it does and it doesn't. It does a little bit, but it doesn't go up on their feed and I don't know exactly how it works. I just am watching it, but it's different when you repost it. More people in your community will see it if you repost it. And then what I do is I post it on my page and stuff, and then I tag whoever I'm friends with, because we're not all of us are on Facebook, even like Bird's not even on Facebook, but I tag whoever I can in the commission when I post it. So then it keeps repeating it to your communities. That makes sense to everyone?
All right, so we'll repost.
Thank you. And use the hashtag Humboldt Kindness as well, because that helps support the Humboldt Kindness campaign.
How does that work, that it helps support that when you say that if we do that? What benefit does Humboldt Kindness get because we do that?
Well, so the whole point of Humboldt Kindness is to create a stream of kind acts and information relevant to Humboldt County so we can teach kind acts and we can promote kind acts. So as commissioners, like, I don't know if you've gotten my business email lately, but in all my emails, it says hashtag Humboldt Kindness, because we're just educating that. And one of the things I'm going to bring up later on in the meeting is some of the feedback we got from our town hall meetings. And that was more support, wanting more activity around that campaign. So what'll happen is you go on Facebook, Lisa, and this is probably a better way to answer it. And if you put in the search engine hashtag Humboldt Kindness, you'll see the sheriff's department, you'll see the board of supervisors, you'll see whoever's participated, you'll see a feed of all the diversity that's used the hashtag. We created that because as what was mentioned earlier, you know, last summer, was it last summer or the summer before? I think Corey mentioned it. We had some serious activity online, hate activity online, and we were trying to show a better way to communicate online.
Awesome. Great job. Well, now I need that little bit of education too. That's really great.
Right on, right. We're going to talk about it more as we get on to it on the agenda. Commissioners, any other thing you want to add? Can we move on to the emails, phone calls? All right. I will read. I was hoping this person would come, but I'm wondering, should I read the email or should I summarize the email?
Summarize unless it's very short.
No, it's pretty long. This was an email from a woman from Hatcher who was asking for our support around their proclamation, I believe is what it was. And I did send that all to you to review. I believe that it already went before the city of Eureka and there was some support around it. I saw in the paper briefly last night, but they're asking for our support. But they're not here today during public comment. So did you commissioners have an opportunity to read the email?
Yes, go ahead.
I'm just saying I didn't. So if you did, Bird, great.
Well, I did, but I'm concerned about support without really knowing exactly what's been happening, because there's been a back and forth in the city and even some discussion. What do they call it? Anyway, you know, with somebody trying to help them get together, and they sometimes say, well, no, that's not acceptable. And I don't know what all of this is all about, really. And since there's nobody here to tell us what it exactly they want us to support, I'm not in favor of supporting anything right now.
Because what I understand that the current situation with the Hatch is they have the mobile unit. They have denigrated or closed down, so they don't have the same exchange of needles that they had before, and so that's what that person was concerned. One of the things they were concerned about. So they do have a mobile thing. So I think I'm on the side of Bird that there's just little we don't know the entire story for that particular person, but the services to exchange needles is still occurring just at a mobile level. So that's, I think it would behoove us to have a better understanding of the situation. So that's what I'm getting from that letter.
Okay, so maybe what I should do is I did extend and ask her to come and speak to us today during public comment, but what I can do now is reply stating that we would be open to a discussion and invite her to come to next month's meeting, but until we have more information, we're unable to give our support.
And ask questions as well.
Well, that's what I need as a commission. We need to be able to ask her questions is what it sounds like. And so maybe they can come and talk to us.
But I think you did the right thing. You asked her to come up here. We could have had that discussion. We could have had a much better idea of what's going on. But without information, we're blind at this particular point.
Okay. All right. I have one other item around emails and communications that I wanted to bring up. Our former chair and leader had a great loss in his life. And I thought because he's done such an amazing job for us as a leader and for this commission and this community, that I would be happy to, we can do a digital condolence card. And I would like to ask if all the commissioners would be willing to participate and sign that card so we could send that to Jim. Eddie? Is that yeah? That sounds like, I can't see here.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll get that
Yeah.
going.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Message line. Bird, you were first up on the list. You had an interesting.
Very. Because I started getting messages after our listening sessions.
Can I interrupt just for a second? Just for Corey, who's a guest. We're talking about our hotline that people call in, they leave messages.
Warm line.
That's what
Warm line.
warm line.
Not
Excuse me. Thank you.
hotline.
Sorry about that.
We call them back. All of the ones that I got, I think I had about 4 or 5 calls, but they were all people who were concerned that they didn't have a chance to speak at the listening session because of technical glitches and so forth. And basically the things they were trying to say, one was that it's time for the county to declare an emergency, human rights emergency of housing, and that they felt that the community was a lot of the problem because of NIMBY, and that they wanted us to do something about it. And this is very hard because we have tried over the years to get that declaration, and it hasn't really happened the way we've wanted. But there were several people that said we needed a better process for them to be able to say something if we were going to have listening sessions again. And I did say that we were very, very sorry that we'd had all the glitches and that we were working on it. We are still working on it and doing everything we can to be more open and more make it easier for people to contact us and to be able to ask us questions or make comments to us. So all the comments that I had, I just had a whole list of comments that they made, but they are basically, it was be more accessible, let us tell you what we need to tell you and do something about it.
Okay, well, I think, we're going to talk about that more, but I think on our agenda, we have some of those things. So that's good. I'm glad to hear that we're addressing some of it. Is there anything else, Bird?
So that was basically what it was. I did contact everyone who left a phone message and apologized for them not being able to get on the call or to be able to speak if that's what happened, and just listened to what they wanted us to know.
I'm curious as to, at the very beginning of the month, or I think it was, somewhere in there, there was the call around EPD and sexual harassment.
Well, I already reported that in December.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay, okay. My bad. I had it on my notes, so I was like, oh.
Yeah.
All right, David, do you have anything to report from your time on the message line?
So the 2 weeks that I was holding down the warm line were the last 2 weeks in December after Bird, and Bird did a very smooth pass off. Thank you so much, Bird. I literally only got one message for the entire 2 weeks time. It was a person who called in to the line back in July and spoke with Larry. I told him, so I called him back when I was able to, as soon as I could the next day. He was actually unfortunately driving. I told him to try to call back, and if he calls back before, the end of the 2 weeks that I'm manning the line, then I'd be able to give him a call back, set up a time with him, give him a call back. He never called back, and so there was, other than that, there was not a single call, and so I have nothing else to report.
Thank you, David. I want to take the opportunity to put that phone number out there. I'm like, well, I got to find the phone number for everybody. What we, as Bird mentioned earlier, what we are discussing is that we are a volunteer commission. So we're not in an office. We're not available 24 hours a day. However, we do have a county message line that we volunteer and check in on. That phone number is available for anybody to use. It is not an emergency number. If you have an emergency, you want to dial 911. This is more to communicate to us, and we will return your call. That phone number is 707-268-2548. Again, that's the Humboldt County Human Rights Message Line, and it's 707-268-2548. You can also email us, and that email is on the county website under Human Rights. Thank you. I was the next person on the message line, and I received one message, actually from a woman out of Del Norte County, trying to understand how to support someone in her community that was a houseless person that she felt was being exploited for marketing purposes. And she was getting in contact with the ACLU because we determined that was probably a civil matter, not really something that we could address, but also it was Del Norte County. All right, I think we have Larry. Is that Commissioner Miller that I see popping in?
Yeah. Yes, it is. I totally apologize. This has been a horrible day, and what can I say? I'm here now, and I'm sorry about what I've missed.
Well, we appreciate you being here now, Larry. And you haven't
Yeah.
you missed an amazing presentation, but you'll be able to go back and watch that. The rest is
Okay,
really,
good.
we're just starting to grind it out.
Okay.
All right, I think we're done. So we have a couple dates we need to fill up on the message line. We have April that needs to be filled and May that needs to be filled. Do we have any volunteers?
Lelena, would you review the current scheduled commissioner schedule for who's going to be answering the phone line?
Absolutely. So I am on the phone line right now from the 1st till the 15th. Then Commissioner Miller is from the 15th to the 31st. Commissioner Lyons is February 1st to the 15th. Commissioner Lochte is February 16th through the 28th. Commissioner Sundberg is March 15th through March 1st through 15th. And then Commissioner Dubois is March 16th through 31st.
I'll jump in and do the 1st of April. This is Larry.
All right, thank you, Larry.
I'm happy to pick up the end of April after Larry.
Right on, David. May's my birthday, so I'm not going to take a call.
And one of the things that we're working on is there to be an automatic email when your time comes up to be sent to you. So don't get offended if somebody tells you you're on and then you get an email the next day. But that's one thing I'm working on, so that should be functioning pretty soon.
I really like that, Eddie. That was great for me. All right, can I get
Protocols then just, yeah,
two more?
protocols just reminding the next person.
Right,
I'm sorry.
right. No, it's that's what we're trying to do, Larry. That was part of the first conversation, was get protocols dialed in so we have steps A through Z really easy. I need 2 more volunteers for the month of May.
I can do 2 weeks in May. I guess the first 2 weeks. Yeah, I'll do the first 2 weeks.
Okay, and do I have one more volunteer for the 16th through the 31st of May?
I'll do it.
All right, thanks, Lisa. All right, it really doesn't take a lot of bandwidth, but I will say that as we get down the agenda today, we are going to talk about how we get more calls coming in. Any more comments on the phone line, commissioners, before we move through?
Just one comment for the new commissioners. We talk about who was on the call, but we never use anybody's name.
Oh, good point, Bird. All right, the next agenda item is the treasurer's report, and our treasurer, Ms. Loins, is missing today, is absent today. I can comment that our balance remains the same as far as for the Human Trafficking Fund. And I can also take accountability that I have yet to go into the bank to sign my signature card to get access to our account. But Mary does have access to our account, and it looks like all our bills are getting paid. All right. Any comments on the treasurer's report? Great. Keep on moving. All right, now we will go to our committee and our ad hoc committee reports. Eddie, do you have any reports for the correctional facility liaison?
No, I have not been asked to visit or anything, so no, I do not have any.
Have you gotten any confirmation that Mary's paperwork had gotten filed? So we had a woman on that team.
No, I have not. I need to work on that. That's my bad. Yes, I will do that.
Awesome. And then the book donations was another thing that I had on my list. All right, we'll move on to the next item, which is the Human Trafficking Fund Standing Committee. Eddie?
So we've had our meetings. It's report time. So we're starting to work on our reports. It's important to know that a lot of because of the COVID, a lot of things haven't happened. But just to kind of go back a little bit, the anti-trafficking unit, we do. If you ever see the bus, there's a bus that has one of the posters with the phone number. So that particular group has done a good job. And then we have the other group from the Girl Scouts, and they've done their job. So right now, our big push right now, or my big push, is to write the report, which we had a meeting earlier today and discussing how that will look on. So that's what's going on with the anti-trafficking. Unless you want to add anything, Lelena.
No, I just want to add that our goal is to have a completed report to bring to the commission before March, before the budgetary meetings happen, because that's when we traditionally ask for funds. And then what will happen is the committee will come to the commission with the recommendations and the information and how we move forward. And then if the commission approves those, then that'll be presented to the Board of Supervisors. And the other decision I think we should mention is that those remaining funds that are being managed by Humboldt Area Foundation are still available for anyone who wishes to apply, that they are there. And you can go to the Humboldt Area Foundation's website and look up the Human Trafficking Fund, and that is where the applications lie. All right, Sanctuary Ordinance Standing Committee. that is Eddie and I, and we did meet this month. And what is next on our agenda is we are going to sit down with the sheriff, with the Board of Supervisors, with the Latinx community, and discuss get information and listen to see what our operating procedures should be to address any sanctuary reports that come through. And what we learned is, as of right now, there's a couple of different ways to report a sanctuary incident. The first step would be to report through the agency that is creating the violation. And we realize that might be a little counterproductive for some people who feel oppressed by the agency. So you're also able to file a report through us. And you would fill that out at the Humboldt County Human Rights Commission email. And as you'll see as we move through the agenda, we're also going to discuss creating some more tools that will make that a little easier. And that's where we're at. So Eddie and I need to get on the horn and start talking. And if anyone who's watching or who is on this call and participating, if you have any suggestions, please reach out to us at the commission email. And we really are starting from scratch. So there's lots of room for suggestions. Eddie, do you have anything to add?
No, I would just say that I would suspect, just from previous experiences in other parts of that request would probably come through our phone line. And so that's, if we did get that through our phone, that would be a high priority to contact us, because that would happen very quickly. So whoever is on call and listening to our not emergency line, but our soft line, please contact us, because we really would want to get on the ball on that.
So Eddie, I noticed how in that contact line you have, and I love it, how you can say, no calls came in. And then you also have a question, if we need to report something around the jail, maybe we can add another flag question like that. So if it is sanctuary, then we have a flag.
Fair, yeah, okay, consider that done. I'll take care of that. That's a good recommendation, unless anybody's opposed to that.
Is there any discussion around this committee? Okay, do we have anybody in the public who would like to comment on this committee?
We have a Meadows iPhone that has called in. I don't know how you want to handle it, but we could ask to unmute her and see what she has to say.
If this is the agenda item she'd like to speak to now, I think now would be the time. Hello, Meadow, can you hear us?
Oh, hi everyone. I was just listening in. I didn't have a comment.
Okay, thank you. Well, we really appreciate you just being a part of the process.
And then we have another gentleman, excuse me, we have Levy. I do not know how to pronounce it, but Levy or Levy, and he just came in. So we'll ask to unmute him and see if he would like to speak to the group.
My name is Levia Love, and I was just here to support.
Thank you, Levia, for being a part of the process and joining us. Okay, well, let's move on to our next item, which is our ad hoc committees and the Human Rights Cannabis Inquiry Ad Hoc Committee. Erin, do you want to speak on that, or would you like me to?
Probably you should.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we are actually at the end of this committee, and we're really excited. We've gotten quite a bit of support, actually, from very diverse aspects of our community. The Law Enforcement Chiefs Association of Humboldt County dispersed this inquiry survey for us, as well did the International Cannabis Farmers Association also dispersed this inquiry for us, as well as quite a few community grassroots activists. We feel, well, we've gotten about, I don't know exactly the number. I probably should have looked, but the last time I looked, we had about 140 participants. And we spoke to UC Berkeley, and they felt that we had a pretty good spectrum, and that we should consider closing the survey and then working with them to bring all the information together into one package. So today, what we would like to ask, what the committee would like to ask, is that we get permission to close the survey, as well as a 2-month extension on this committee, so that we can aggregate the data and create a report, as well as give a recommendation on how we wish to move forward. So I would like to make a motion to extend the Human Rights Cannabis Inquiry Committee to, to March?
Bird has her hand up.
Okay, I can't see, sorry. Hi, Bird.
You're the chair. You don't make the motion. I so move to close the survey and extend the ad hoc committee for 2 more months.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Lisa, second. Okay, and I can't see everybody, so I'm just gonna go through and get your Eddie.
Aye.
Lisa,
Aye.
Aaron,
Aye.
Bird,
Aye.
David Haney,
Aye.
Larry Miller,
Aye.
and Lelania Dubois, aye. Do
And
we
Monique
have,
is here. Aye.
oh, I'm sorry, Monique, I can't, it's so hard to see everyone. Do we have any abstentions? Okay, it looks like we,
Before we move on, I don't have opposition, but I'm still wondering just what exactly we're looking to achieve in terms of human rights with this survey. Like, what is the goal of this survey? I know I came in only a few months ago, so I may have missed that conversation, but I'm still kind of in the dark on the priority behind the survey and the goals in terms of human rights.
absolutely, great question. So there's kind of 2 parts to that. One, we had community members reach out and ask. There was concerns around the abatements that were happening last summer. And so we had some community members reach out and ask us to take it into consideration. When that happened, as a commission, we have never had the opportunity, because this has been an illegal discussion, to take this in consideration. And in any history with human rights, when you're talking about a community's largest economic function and the welfare of that community, they impact each other. So we don't know why. The community encouraged us, so we created this survey, and this survey is to help us understand, is that economic impact impacting the human rights in this community? Is it impacting homelessness? Do we have more people, how is this transition impacting? We also ask, what is your second socioeconomic status? What is your race? How can we determine really what's happening in this industry? What are we going to do with it? That's what we don't know until we see the results. And we won't really know what those results are until we aggregate all the information. Did I
Yep,
answer
sounds
that?
good.
Any more discussion from the commission, and then we could open it to the public? Am I doing this in the right order, Bird? Okay.
Yes, you are.
Thank you. Is any more discussion from the commission? Okay, would anyone in the public like to speak on the Human Rights Cannabis Inquiry Ad Hoc Committee? Eddie, do we have any?
No, we just have from Sam de La Paz a red heart, a namaste prayer, and a green heart. That's we have.
Blessing, Sam. You're appreciated. All right. So can we already voted, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, David, for catching me up. Okay, so let's move on then to our next ad hoc committee, which is the kindness ad hoc committee. Mary is not here today, so I'll do my best to speak on it. It is the end of this committee. It really, I believe it's today, it's this month. But at our town hall meeting, Supervisor Bass requested that we put more energy into it. I'm not the chair of this committee, so I'm not sure where we should go next with it, but I feel like we should at least extend it another month so that the chair can sit down and determine what to do next. Or how do you think we best handle this?
I should know this off the top of my head, but who is on that committee, the kindness committee?
It's Mary and I.
Okay, maybe I really think this would be a great opportunity for some of our newer members. It's a really cool committee.
It's really, you guys, for our new commissioners, it's a committee that's really just about social media influencing. And it would be great to have one of the new folks as a part of that committee, because really what it's about is utilizing the Humboldt Kindness group and utilizing the hashtag and leading us as the commission and our community in that campaign. So it's kind of fun and it's creative, and I can link you into Canva and you can make memes and, you know, but it definitely. Yeah, Lisa, I think you would do a great job. So are you volunteering to participate on the Humboldt Kindness Committee?
Yeah, because I think it'd be a great learning experience just in general, and love to participate and help you guys get the message there.
Okay.
It call it the flip. It is what we need to flip. You basically, right? Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
If I could, I just wanted to quickly add my input. I definitely think that it's a necessary item in this community for kindness to be promoted. I just personally, my MO, I just come from a different angle with things. I like to use the more Socratic method to get people to think about issues that matter to me. And to be quite honest, I'm upset about these issues that matter enough to me to where kindness is not how I prefer to approach it. And so I just needed to say that myself. So I'm thankful that you guys are doing it.
Thank you, David. Well, that is exactly why I think it's so important, because as leaders, we have to help lead our community into a more positive mindset and making better decisions for itself. And so that's why we need all of us on here, because we need that diversity, right?
Bird has her hand up.
Hi, Bird.
I move that the Kindness Committee be extended for 3 months to reorganize itself.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right. Do we have any public discussion? Eddie?
Just a quick boring comment. David, we have a list of all the people that are on the different committees, and we should update that. So later on, maybe we should just get together and make sure that we, so that way we have a running tally of who was on which committees. And you might already have updated that, but the last one I looked, so let's just talk about that later. That's what I'm trying to say.
That sounds good, Eddie. Thank you.
All right. Are we at end of discussion? Can we vote? Eddie, how do you vote to extend the Kindness Committee? All right. Lisa?
Yes.
Aaron? Yes. Bird?
Yes.
Mo?
Yes.
Thank you. David?
And I'm going to, because of my comment earlier, I'm going to abstain.
Okay. Larry?
Yes.
And Dubois, yes. All right, we have extended the kindness committee and added Lisa Sundberg to the committee. Okay, next on the agenda is Racism Cultural Awareness Ad Hoc Committee. David.
Thank you, Lelania. I appreciate it. It's, you know, with things going on in the world at large, this committee is so timely to be getting really a good level of support and attention from the community, which is what I think that we're kind of seeing at this point, stemming from all the emails that the commission got, you know, so many weeks ago about racism and addressing racism in the community. And I want to also remind folks that I think that the decisions to add BIPOC community members to this commission in the last few months, you know, this year, or I'm sorry, last year actually, was a great decision. You know, I think that there's, you know, I know that there's work that needs to be done, and additions like Monique and Lisa are really perfect for allowing this commission to have the kind of respect that in terms of having people that are knowledgeable about issues of race and actually really willing to put their time and energy into it because it, you know, affects them directly, you know what I mean? And so I'm just really thankful that the commission has gone in this direction, and then also to allow the community to have a bit of a voice. I want to thank the commission at large for allowing this racism and cultural awareness ad hoc committee to, you know, facilitate the meeting that was facilitated last month. I believe that was December 16th. And yeah, there have been really great, meaningful conversations that have now been spurred by this process. To kind of get to give people an idea of what's happened at the meeting on December 16th, we got in front of us how we're going to have meetings to move the process forward for a proclamation being created, and the community is leading that process. And there are human rights commissioners that are on board with actually doing the work of what this proclamation is going to do like to help support this process. And so, yeah, we had a really meaningful meeting last week where, and I want to again thank Lisa for I mean, it was just a great, I was blessed. Once again, I say blessed, but I was blessed to have listened to that conversation. It's one of those conversations that was so necessary around here to really talk about indigenous rights and sovereignty. Sovereignty was a word that was used a lot. And I think that's such a timely conversation for this area. Yeah, that's what, at least on that side of things, I have to report. And I want to thank Larry. I want to thank Larry for being here, of course, and Lisa and Monique. Larry, do you have anything to add? I don't want to just move forward without getting your input. You're crucial to these meetings and this process.
I just want to make it the commission clear in terms of, you know, is this going to be a Human Rights Commission ordinance, draft ordinance being presented to the Board of Supervisors, or is the commission just going to be a participant in a community proclamation that's submitted to the board? So I just think it'd be important to be clear on that respect, because I too am totally enthused by the amount of community input and support, you know, for us moving forward on this. So I think it's real important, though, to make, you know, that clear. How is it going to be framed?
So I have a question. I have a couple questions. Did you guys as a committee meet again after that meeting?
So, to my understanding, based on the meeting that we had on December 16th, the agreement that the entire group made, including community members, was to have a next meeting where commissioners were invited, but this meeting was to be community facilitated.
Right, but that's separate from the committee, what the committee's gonna do. Right? Because there was a meeting and you guys as a committee needed to like get organized and figure out what you're gonna do, right? And then in that meeting, what the community really wanted was a proclamation. But as a committee, you couldn't say to the community, we can write a proclamation, because you have to go through the process with the commission. And so what happened is the community said, well, we can write the proclamation really fast and then bring it to the commission for approval or support or whatever they would ask. As an ad hoc committee and as citizens, you should absolutely participate in that conversation. But as a county ad hoc committee, are we doing anything, or are we waiting for that proclamation? What did you guys decide as a group? And you should keep meeting to move forward, whether it's as a group supporting the community around that proclamation, or you guys figuring out, maybe you feel that there needs to be a stakeholders meeting, or, you know, our guest Corey tonight had some really great ideas. You know, I don't know, but I would definitely, as a committee, meet and figure out what you as a commission are going to do, whether it's support the community around that proclamation and figure that out, write your own. I don't know, but I would definitely meet and figure that out. That makes sense?
It does. I completely agree, and I think that we're all on the same page now that New Year's is passed. I've gotten interest from commissioners to have this next, you know, whatever meeting we're going to have, so we can pull people together and start moving the process forward. And so I will talk to the commissioners and get us on the same page with how we can support this process for the community.
Okay, and then there was one other item of business, and I'm not, that you wanted to vote in a new commissioner onto the committee? Go ahead, Bird.
Bird has her hand up.
Well, I just wanted to say that if there is a group of citizens, community members who are working on this, one of the best ways we can have even more impact is for the community members to present something and then the Human Rights Commission to support that.
That's kind of what, you know, hopefully will happen, because they can write it much faster and take action faster. And that was where I think we had left it, that the community was going to go and work on that. And then we were going to participate in those meetings with them, and then hopefully they would present something that we could possibly support.
Because I'd like to recommend that, you know, thinking through our digital accessibility framework and everything, like one thing that we could do is help that group of citizens have a space to do a meeting that is not tied to the human rights, but they use our Zoom or something like that, but it would be under a separate name. So they have the facility to speak, and then maybe later on do the presentation that you were talking about to the group. So that way we're assisting them. Does that make any sense?
I think it does. I think if I could, I think that you know, right, the next thing I think we were gonna be doing here was making sure that we've got Monique on this commission. And with that first meeting, I think that the Brown Act was the problem, where, you know, Monique is, you know, needs to be at this table for these discussions, and she was not allowed to be at that meeting. And so that was, I think, one of the reasons why the community was wanting to move it away from what's being, you know, under the Brown Act. What you're talking about, Eddie, I don't know if there's what decorum has to be there, if we can have however many commissioners. I just don't see that being a problem now with myself, Monique, Larry, and Lisa being a part of the conversations. I don't think it's going to be butting up against the Brown Act regardless. So if you're saying that we can use the Human Rights Commission Zoom account to facilitate the meetings for the community, I'd love to do that. I'd love to allow that.
I think that is something that we have to run by the county IT department, just because as a county commission, we do have, when we come together, we have to hold to certain standards. Now, what you could do as a committee, David, is support those citizens in that stakeholders conversation, because in creating a forum for them that we hosted or something like that. That I could see being, very, very plausible. But when we're using county resources, we have to make sure that we're using the county rules and guidelines as well.
100%. Yep.
I mean, I see lots of ideas for ways you guys can work with this community coalition of such. I just think that you guys need to sit down and kind of organize yourself and start putting boots on the ground and figuring out how you do it. I don't know the answer to that, but I know you've got a lot of really good information and a lot of really good support to do something amazing. So do you have any actions that you feel that we need to discuss, or it sounds like we can move forward? Or
I personally don't have any actions related to anything that I'd be requesting right now.
So there doesn't need to be an action to put me on that committee.
Oh, I'm so well. That was that was the next thing that we do have
Okay.
is I wanted to make sure that we're getting Monique on this committee. So we were going to do a vote on that, right, Lelania?
I believe I can appoint Monique to the Racism and Cultural Awareness Ad Hoc.
Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect.
Just appoint her.
Okay, so now something that we came across today, David, that I just want to throw in there is now you have a committee of 4, which means you cannot have a meeting without 3. Correct, Bird?
At
Yes,
least 3.
You
Yep.
need a quorum, and 2 is not a quorum because you have to have over 50%. 2 is just 50%. So you would need to have 3 of the 4 people there for any meeting to do any business.
And
Gotcha.
I'll still totally, when you're ready to call the meeting and organize that, I'll support you behind the scenes, but I'm not going to participate in the meeting, so Monique can be there. But anything you need, just reach out. I'll help you, whatever you need, so you feel really ready. Okay?
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, commissioners, do we have any discussion on this subject? I'd like to open it up to the public comment if on this particular item.
We have a Burnett Green that's been listening. I don't know. I'll ask unmute. Brent, I'm sorry, Brent Green. Ugh. No, I haven't. I have asked them a couple of times. I don't think they have, and we don't have any comments on our Facebook either.
Okay.
What's up, y'all?
Hey, Brent, do you have any comments on racism and cultural awareness?
Well, thanks for having me today. Sorry it's taking me so long to acknowledge y'all's muting request. The only thing I have to say is that I think it's dope that you all are acknowledging the Native American land here, but more than anything, I'd like to see some concrete action. It's been real nice to listen to the conversation and everything. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I think that's what we're hoping to make happen here real soon too, Brent.
Lele.
Go ahead, Bird.
Anytime. I think we're open to things to do, but we do need to have concrete ideas that fit within our mission and what we are allowed to do. So if you have ideas, Brent, we would like those specific ideas. Yes, I know we need to take actions, but it's one thing to say take action, and it's another thing to know exactly what that action should be. So we need help in what those actions should be.
Okay, yeah, I understand that. The only thing I have to say in return to that is that I'm not in power in here around these parts, and people who look like me are not in power around these parts. So the burden of this finding the solution isn't necessarily on us. It is on people who look like you and Lily and things like that, because the atrocities that have occurred in this community and communities across this nation were mostly perpetrated by people who are in power and who look like you all. So that's pretty much what I have to say about that.
You know, Brent, thank you. I appreciate that statement, but as that white person in power, it's hard. I don't want to say this wrong, but I want to find solutions. And I know Bird wants to find solutions, but I don't have your experience to understand how to bridge that gap. And so for the community, please, if you feel that we need to focus on education with Indigenous tribes, send us an email, because the more we have, or you feel that we need to focus on employment for people of color, send us an email, because the more, it's like a tally, the more we get, if we get 20 people that say you as a commission need to focus on Indigenous education, then we have to listen to those 20 people, because you're all telling us to focus on one thing. But when we get 100 people telling us to do 100 different things, we're in a spot. We don't know which direction to go in. So I don't want to burden you with creating the solution, but what I do want to ask is your input to help support us in creating real solutions. So we're not coming out with the same old bullshit, excuse me, we're in a commission, the same old stuff, creating the same problems over and over again.
Yeah, that's admirable. And yeah, I will be more than happy to email you all.
Thank you. And anyone else listening, please. And I will make sure, if you go to our Facebook page, the email address is on there. If you go to the county page, our email address is on there. And after this, I'll make sure that I repost it on all our Facebook as well, and the phone number. Any other public comments around this issue?
Lelania, what's funny is that I grew up with this woman all my life, and coming here, this is the voice that she's been echoing. So I let her listen in. So I'm going to let her speak and talk about her perspective. So here's my mother.
You as a commissioner. This is not Lisa as a commissioner. This is Joy as a citizen.
Yes, and by the way, she used to be chairman here at Trinidad Rancheria for some 28 years, and one of the longest seated chairwomen here. And so she's got a lot of experience and exposure of a lot of different perspectives. So I'll let you speak.
Thank you. Hi, Joy.
Hi, how are you?
Well, good to see you.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, I hope that Lisa doesn't gag me.
I won't give her the cane.
Yeah, I mean just sitting back listening to all this stuff, and like that young gentleman said, he doesn't want any more of this old bullshit stuff, but I've been laying back and listening to, and being an Indian of North Coast, and know the history of California and all the atrocities. And, at one time there was over 100,000 Indians in California, and they did a census here, and in the 1906 or something, and there was 15,000 Indians left. They've killed them all, I'm a rare species, and and I listen to everybody, and I, like most people, and sometimes I have to bite my tongue, because everybody's a racist. I'm a racist. There's certain types of people I don't care for. I'm nice to them because you white people taught me some manners, or more or less my parents did it, because most people don't know that Indians had manners. We had certain things that we had to do, and if you live in a place like we have, like I have, and matter of fact, I'm 88 years old, and I've gone through every generation, and everything was different. One time I was a little girl and I could talk things, but my mouth always went. My grandmother used to put her hand over it because you don't talk like that, or white people don't like you to say that, or your mother says, we have to get this, you're going to get a new coat, and we'll make it for you. And I said, how come I have to wear that color? And she says, well, because the white people don't want you to look bright. And so, we were all raised like that. And we went to a white school, and we pretty well, growing up in Blue Lake, it wasn't so bad because we weren't the only minority around. The Portuguese people were treated badly too. And so we had all Portuguese friends, and I had some beautiful white friends that were really nice to me. And otherwise, I'd probably been a hateful little witch, if I hadn't been having good vibes from other people. And you just have to go through it. I mean, all these generations, even like your clothes and how you dressed and how you behaved yourself. And then we had another culture where where we were raised that there were certain things as an Indian that you couldn't do. And I'm horrified, like our president, he was ill-mannered and insulting to people. And of all people, were raised in that, and then you want to get rid of it, but it's going to be hard because I'm, like I say, 88. I'll be almost 89, and the white people didn't come to this area until the 1850s. And California didn't become a state. They were coming to state, and we didn't even know they were get round. And I was called racist because I was telling a story about a person. There was a Jewish store that was here, and my brother and I are talking about, and we were called racist because we happened to say that word. And at that time, we didn't know what a Jew was, and that's how new Humboldt County is, and I don't think people realize that, it's just like my brother or one of the kids said, watching all the antics that were going on in Washington, D.C., and you saw all these people climbing all over and being so rude and nasty. And we thought if those were black people, they would have been machine gunning them down to get them off the building. I mean, that's how we felt. Nobody else would probably feel that way, but we knew how we were treated. If anybody did anything around there, we were blamed for it because we were an Indian. And that hasn't stopped. And I think that the things that you want to do, and I think that it's a marvelous idea because education is the best thing for everyone, because it's just like talking to you and talking to other people and getting to know them. You understand them a lot better, we would, maybe I won't be calling you Betty.
I was just gonna go, Joy, don't go there yet. This is public.
Yeah.
Joy, I really appreciate what you're saying, and you are one of our wise elders in this community. I'm wondering if you could, in a brief sentence or paragraph, share with us as a commission what you see we should focus on to help create solutions around this issue?
Is it pollution you're talking about, or would you, I'm not here? I can't, I'm not hearing.
I said issue. It's around, it's racism. It's
Oh.
how do we address that from your, because you are such an experienced member of this community. What do you see we should be focusing on to create a real solution?
Well, I think that you're 50 years behind. You got a late start, because there's a lot of prejudice out there yet. I have people that are really nice to me and I've known them for years, but I know they're prejudiced. You just pick it up. I know it right away. And I like I say, I have a lot of friends in all colors, and it's sometimes I don't like them, but I don't like some of my kids either sometimes,
What could we do as a commission though?
Yeah, you could, I think you need a lot of education because, the education is, when I was going to school, we were taught that we'll never amount to anything and we won't be able to learn anything. And so if you went to a government school, the teachers aren't that probably taught too well. And so it's just like this young young man that you have here. And we talked about how come the blacks have all this education. We were afforded that gift. They got that marvelous university, back there, Howard University, and people gave it that, and they grants and everything. We didn't even get any grants out here until the 1960s almost, when we needed attorneys and all the things that happened to us. We're so far behind, and it's because everybody felt we were propagandized by us for 400 years or more, that, well, they'll never learn anything. And the kids that went to school, they got a high school education, but most of it wasn't from the best people. And then the schools were really bad. And I know poor old Jessie Short, she used to say she went to boarding school at Hoopa, and she said she was only 3 years old and the matron would have to pick her up when she fell over going to school. And they didn't do that to other people. They maybe hung them. Well, they hung the Indians too. But, you're just too far, and we need to, I know the flu thing is going around. They even locked me up, but they know we need to get out and meet more people and associate with them. And that's how you meet them. And you can't meet them once a month or something like that. And we always had big dinners. Indians always had big dinners that fed everybody. And my house was that way. My folks' house was that way, where people came and sat down and broke bread with them. And that's how you get to know people. You can't take a class, because all the class is going to teach you is that person's perspective, and then you might be hung up on something else. So you don't know where to go to, find out the truth, and I think I do need to give you a new name.
Joy. Well, thank you, Joy. What I'm hearing, and it's a lot of what I heard Corey say, is education and more sensitivity around the history, and that also includes education. We're running. We've got 10 minutes left for our scheduled time, and we have a lot more to get through
Oh, I'm sure.
on this
And
agenda. Thank you, Joy. I'm gonna see, is there anyone else in the community that is on this call right now that would like to make a comment on the Racism and Cultural Awareness Committee before we move on to the next item?
Thank you for your input, Joy. I greatly appreciate listening to you speak.
Yeah, thank you, Joy, so much.
And they said, thank you.
It was a pleasure, Joy, listening to somebody with your span of experience.
Say thank you, Mom.
thank you very, very much. And I'll be seeing you.
You'll be seeing me. All right. Thank you, everyone. Let's move on to our next agenda item, which is town hall listening sessions. We will actually be closing this committee today, but we did have a fairly successful town hall and listening sessions last month. They can now be accessed on Access Humboldt as well as on YouTube. I think the main takeaways, and I'm going to ask for the commissioners to support me on this conversation, was one, that the Board of Supervisors would really like us to put more effort into the kindness committee. Two, that we need to create an operating procedure around sanctuary as a commission. Three, the community really liked the format, and what I mean by that is the openness to communicate with us. As we all experienced earlier this month on a committee meeting, government procedures don't really allow for effective communication between the government and the community. And what those listening sessions did was, and we do need to get better at it. Bird mentioned that people had a hard time accessing, but those who were able to participate, it was a very open conversation because we weren't having to follow procedures. We need to find better ways to engage the community. We learned from that. The community wants to know more about us. They want to know we exist. They want to feel that we're open and receiving to them. And I think that, and we don't need to decide this today, but I think as a commission, and maybe we do, we should consider how often we would like to do this sort of forum. Any commissioners have additional comments?
I would just say that, things that the listening sessions, the more we do them, the more practice that we have, the more polished and able, and the easier it'll be for us to spread our message. So I think anytime we have a group of people that want to talk, and I'm going for the digital accessibility concepts, we want to facilitate that. And maybe we need to figure out how we distinguish between, yes, we're using county resources, but this is an independent thing. And the points of views that will be brought up here don't necessarily mean us, but we want to provide that technology and that space for people to be able to converse.
Yeah, I think what it is it's about who's liable and responsible for that space, right? So if the Human Rights Commission is hosting something, then the Board of Supervisors are liable and responsible for that conversation. Whereas if the community is hosting a conversation and are participated to and participate, then that space would be their responsibility. And I don't know the answers to that until we talk to IT.
And nor do I. But I think as a digital accessibility, we want to provide, because we talk about equity and we talk about power. If I wanted to do something like that, I could do it. It would take me, so we want to make that kind of stuff available to everybody. And with how cheap the technology is, there's no reason we can't provide that to people in our community.
Yeah, I agree. I also think Access Humboldt has some of that stuff in line. And the more we learn about that relationship, the more we can utilize Access Humboldt to support those organizations, especially when we have a contract and we're moving regularly with them funded. We'll have lots of ways to empower those kind of situations. All right, Commissioners, Byrd, do you have any comments on the town hall listening sessions? You were a moderator one day.
You're muted. Byrd, you're muted.
Sorry, sorry. It was just that some people had trouble getting in, and I told them that we would do better about it. We just need to be sure that we do fix that the next time we do it. I would like to see us do it at least a couple times a year.
Yeah, I would too. I think at least 2 times a year is something that I think we could manage. I think we can continue.
Especially if we do it by Zoom, because then we can do the whole county at one time.
Yeah, it made a big difference. I think that's something that we could keep talking about in the Digital Accessibility Committee. And then when we decide it's time to do it, we create another committee.
Yep,
on that
exactly.
decision.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So
Erin has her hand up.
Hi, Erin.
Hi, I just wanted to run by the possibility, see what other commissioners think about this in terms of the listening sessions. To me, 4 hours seems a little daunting for a meeting. And I'm wondering if we could maybe take it down to 2 hours, and also of the last 2 hours, about an hour and a half of that was the commissioners talking. I'm wondering if we could change that around so that we keep the commissioners to like 5 minutes. We're calling them listening sessions. There was very little time left. And if we're going to be doing such a better job at getting more people to talk, I think that might be more effective, but I want to run that idea by other people. What do other people think about that?
I also want to add that maybe it's smart to do fewer of them, but within themes. So then people kind of can make their schedule around going to a particular event because it pertains to homelessness or something, or some, special interest that they want to speak on, instead of waiting through a long session to get to it.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah.
That's a great idea, but that would be something, it's like we held a stakeholders meeting with the Human Trafficking Committee. So that would be, each committee could determine to host a forum discussion. But that's something that each committee would determine and then bring it back to the commission for permission.
I would agree with Erin. I think 2 hours would be much better.
Yes, we were doing 2 things at once, right? We needed to have our town hall meeting, and then we wanted to try this new format. And what we learned is that we really like the listening sessions.
Yeah.
So I agree. And Erin, I want to make a comment to us talking to each other. Part of that was the accessibility issue. Both days were were a little different. And the more we had the community engagement, the less we were talking to each other. But we did have to make up for that space because we had the Board of Supervisors on there and talk about the issues. So we were using that time on air to educate. But I agree, I would like to see a lot more us listening to the community than us talking.
Great, I love that. And if you'll excuse me, I just take a really quick break. I'll be right back.
Okay, thank you. Any more discussion around this, commissioners? Do we need to vote to close the committee, Byrd? Okay. You're on mute.
I don't think so.
It just expires unless we do something different.
Okay.
And Melania, we're at the point where we need to be sure that Access Humboldt knows that if we're going to go over our 7 o'clock, we need to decide about that.
Okay. We have, I would really like to at least get to the planning guide. So do we vote to extend the meeting a little longer? Because I would like to get through some of this. It seems like a lot, but it'll go pretty fast.
Well, No, we just keep doing it, but be sure that Access Humboldt is okay with this.
Yeah,
Right.
and they're okay. We had that conversation. And so, but yes, we do need to keep it in. If we're gonna broadcast this in other places, we need to keep in our timeline.
Absolutely.
And it might chop up, but we are recording this, so we will have it on our YouTube channel, and so that will be accessible. And then we'll work with Humboldt Access Humboldt. I'll
Okay.
double check with them.
Okay. All right. Well, let's move on then to our next agenda items, which is unfinished business. And the first item on there is Martin Luther King celebration. Traditionally, we have an event at the Adorney Center that we've participated in every year. However, this year there's a little difference. I did reach out to the NAACP. We have not heard back, but I know David has some information to share with us, I believe. David?
No, I'm sorry. I thought that I'm at the same point where I saw the email that you had sent to the president of the NAACP, and we were waiting to hear back. I'm just trying to figure out myself how we can support. I think it's definitely necessary for us, and so whatever we can do, I'm happy and on board to support us.
Did you find out some information about an event they were having? Maybe we can at least support that way, or
I can share some information.
Thank you.
I know that it will happen virtually. I'm not sure exactly the time or if they've released the Zoom information, but normally it starts at noon and goes for a few hours. So I can imagine that they're going to mimic that same schedule that they hold every year, and it will just be held virtually. And I can imagine that, Zoom information will be released very soon. But it will ultimately be a group of community speakers and local Black businesses presenting like they have in the past.
And
Oh.
Monique, isn't it on the 18th?
Yeah, it's on Martin Luther King Day,
Yeah.
Junior Day, excuse me.
So if we don't hear back, Monique, could you make sure that we at least get the links and the information so we could support it on our social media outlets and whatnot?
Yep.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the 2021 planning guide. That was included for all of you to review, and we need to approve or if we have any input.
Yes, there is a tomorrow at noon. There is a Latino Net meeting, and there will be a forum and discussions of surviving in a pandemic and sheltering in place. And it went through the NORCAN, so you should have gotten the information, Lelania, but I can forward that to you if you didn't get it.
No, I didn't see anything around it. If you could
Yep.
forward it, we could also share that on our social media. Are
Yeah.
you participating, Bird?
Well, I will be listening in. Yeah.
Okay, so we will learn from that. That's what I wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
So is that a yearly event that we would add to the planning guide?
No, they're having an event every quarter, I believe. So there will be more events coming.
Okay, well, maybe what we can do is find out about that and add that and vote. Those
Yeah, we
additions
need to
on-
get on top of that. Yeah, because I don't think,
Okay.
I didn't receive anything, so, and I suspect other commissioners either haven't, except maybe for Bird, who's better connected. I would-
Okay. Anytime I get something, then I will forward it to you so that can be posted, and I will let them know that we are promoting that for them.
All right, thank you. So commissioners, were you able to review our yearly planning guide?
Yes.
Okay, do we have any a motion to vote on that for our planning guide for the year?
I move to approve the planning guide for the year.
All right, do we have a second? Aaron seconds. Thank you, Aaron. All right. Vote Dubois, yes. Morgan,
Oh, yes.
yes. Lochte,
Yes.
Rowe, yes. Sunberg,
Yes.
yes. And Mo,
Yep.
Larry,
Yes.
All right. Do we have any abstentions? No? Any no's?
Yes,
No?
from David Haney, and looks like that passes.
Okay. So David, are you abstaining?
No, I voted. I
Right,
wasn't called,
okay.
but yes, I'm
All
voting
right,
yes.
thank you. All right, all right. Well, great. We've got our planning guide right under the hair of our chins from when it needed to be done. So fantastic. And if anyone sees for new commissioners, if you see anything that you want to add that should be permanently on our calendar, you know, we can again bring it back up and add to it as well. All right, so
Maybe just for really quick, should we just share the screen and show how it looks, or you think everybody know? Oh, no, bad idea. Don't worry about it.
I think we need to keep moving.
Yeah, we need to move. Yeah, let's move.
We need to keep moving along. But if commissioners, you should all have access to the link. If you don't, please reach out to Eddie. So new business, Bird, how human rights affects the nature and the people. Commissioners, you were all sent out a YouTube video that Bird asked us all to watch so we could consider this. Bird?
You're muted, Bird.
Thought it would be good for everybody to look at it. It wasn't anything that I thought we needed to do anything about other than to be aware of it and to be aware of what people are doing and support anybody that we can when we see that kind of thing happening.
All right, thank you, Bird. All right, I wanted to bring to all, or do any commissioners want to discuss that video at all or have anything, or should we just move forward?
Move forward.
Okay, I would like to bring to question to the commission. I would like to, well, God, I get confused as chair how to do this, but I feel that we need to bring homelessness and houselessness back onto our agenda. And I have asked Erin if she would consider chairing a homelessness and houselessness committee, and she has agreed. So what are the steps, Bird, for us to determine if we wish to put that back on the agenda?
Well, you can just put that on the agenda.
Yeah.
And we create a committee?
Yeah.
Okay, so
it's an ad hoc committee, correct? So
an ad hoc committee.
Ad hoc committee, yes.
So there's a sheet. There's a sheet that we put the dates of how long it's going to last, and then we vote on it, and we're good to go. Is that right, Bird?
That's right.
Is Erin still on the call?
Yes, she is.
All right, Erin, would you accept an appointment as chair to a new ad hoc committee around homelessness?
You bet. I almost begged you actually before you asked. So yeah, the answer would be heck yeah.
Right on. Do you have any particular commissioners that you would like to ask to participate on the committee, or would any commissioners like to volunteer to be a part of that committee?
I'll volunteer. This is Mo.
Right on, Mo. Thanks. Any other commissioners?
I'd like to volunteer as well.
Right on. Okay, so 3 is a really good number because then you can work with 2. Does that sound good to you, Erin?
Yes.
Right on.
I should probably get from somebody Mo and David's emails so I can send a Zoom invitation, which I have figured out how to do despite my elderly ways. And I'm very proud of myself.
Right. And as chair of this committee, you'll be responsible for making those calendar invitations and Zooms because we're trying to streamline it. So we don't have 3 of us making one meeting. So as chair, you will make the meetings for your ad hoc committee every time and be responsible for inviting everyone.
And Erin, if you have any questions, just call me. I can run you through it a couple of times. Don't be shy.
I do, Eddie, and I will be calling you. Yes, thank you.
Okay. The next item on.
If it's an ad hoc committee, you need to have a time on it.
Ah, okay. Erin.
I think this one should be pretty long because unfortunately, I think the beginning of the year, things are going to start getting really very bad. So however long a time you think is appropriate.
I would recommend a year, 12
That
months.
works for me. Yeah, that works
Well,
for me.
I think there's some rules to that. I think it has to be 6 months in order to, is that, Bert, isn't it 6 months as long as we can host, and then we can renew it after 6 months?
Well, I don't know that that's a rule, but if we start saying a year, that's beginning to look like a standing committee. So I would suggest 6 months to start.
I would recommend 11 months.
Well, the thing is though,
No,
Aaron,
I'm good. I'm good with 6 months. I'm sorry. That was rude of me.
it doesn't limit you. It just allows us to stay within the ad hoc committee really easily. You know, does that work for you, Aaron?
Sure. I mean, anything works for me. Just whatever you want will work for me.
All right, so is someone, do we need to make a motion?
Were we on the 6 months? Is that the idea? Okay.
So do we have a motion to create the homelessness committee with Chair Aaron Rowe? That'll
I
be,
would make that motion since I'm a.
all right.
What are
Do we
you?
have a second?
Can I second?
All
Yeah.
right,
I'll
Okay.
second for you.
Bird seconds and vote. Dubois, yes. Lochte,
Yes,
yes. Morgan, yes. Rowe,
Yes.
yes. Sunberg,
Yes.
Mo,
Yep.
David,
Yes.
Larry.
Yes.
All right, do we have any abstentions? All right, any no's? All right, it looks like it's unanimous that we will be starting the homelessness committee for 6 months, and Aaron Rowe will be chairing that ad hoc committee. All right, I think the next item on the agenda is the human rights survey. I think because we're running so far behind, I would like to push that to next month. I think we can actually like include it in the digital accessibility committee. The next thing on the agenda is the welcome sign. Aaron has made a suggestion that we put our welcome sign on our website, that we ask the county to do that. And I just wanted to make sure that we all agreed that that was a good idea.
I think we
Also-
talked about,
Sorry, this came up because the Bayside Community Hall wanted them. They wanted 3 of them. I happen to have 2 of them. And then one of the people on the board, although I'll have another meeting with them next week, wanted a larger one. I don't know why they need one larger, but I will check with them and see what they're wanting. And when I get the information, should I contact Lelania or Bird? Yes, that's the sign, Eddie. That's it.
Yeah, contact me so we can, oh wait, I'm sorry, I got distracted for a minute. What is the information?
We're talking about reprinting the welcome sign. And I know that the printer in Eureka, they must have a hard copy and they could probably print it up into something bigger. But I
They-
will need to wait until next week to find out what the hall is wanting.
I will talk with them and see if, find out what size and let me know, Aaron, and I will talk with central office. I also talked with them about finding the green one. And I'll jog them again about that.
We should
The
have all
hall
that
is okay with
stuff
the
in
red-
our shared documents. But let's take a look.
We're okay with the red ones for now, but I mean, you might want to get the green ones because the hall just wanted the red ones, so.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. All right, the next item on the agenda that I think we need to discuss is March is Women History Month. And I don't know if we need to start a committee or if we just need some volunteers to start figuring out how we can better engage in Women's History Month. Any ideas?
I think the League of Women Voters has a great programs. They're really on top of it. There's a lot of very smart people there, and I think if we followed their lead, supported them, that would be a good way of going. I don't know, Bird, what do you think? You know that group pretty well.
Well, we can put our information out. Anybody is welcome to come to the discussion meetings that we have, forums or discussions. You can only take part in the voting or if you are a member, but you can come and hear the information. Anybody can. Eddie, you're a member, I'm a member. We can refer people to the website and so forth.
Might also be useful to hunt down past events that have been held by other organizations during March. Like we have a Women's March, we have groups of community members that, work around Women's Month. It might be worth it to just outreach to them and see if we can just advertise and promote what they're already doing.
So Mo, are you volunteering to look at that so we can actively participate in some events in March?
I have a contact just from past Marches that I'm happy to outreach to, but that's probably the extent of that.
Eddie?
How about we do a shared document and everybody can put their piece of people they know. So like Bird knows about the League of Women Voters, Monique knows about this other group. So we can have like a target list would be the wrong word to use here, but something, and then concentrate on expanding our message with those groups or working in cahoots with those groups.
So I love that idea. Maybe what we can do, all of the commission, is give some ideas of what we can participate in and support. And so by the next meeting, we could actually vote on something to participate in and support. We hear that? All right. All right. The next one is I just wanted to announce to everyone that the officers are going to start meeting monthly to build operating procedures for us. So all these little hiccups that we keep having as we're growing and transitioning, we don't have a multitude of times. We all have a reference for things such as communication, Zoom, all these things we've talked about today. The next thing was outreach for the message line. I think I'm going to push that also till next agenda. And then the last thing I think we need to talk about is that Eddie, Bird, and I met with Access Humboldt yesterday, or actually the day before, and we didn't have time to follow the Brown Act and to adjust the agenda, but we would like to make a time now to have a special meeting so that as a
Would you give me some water, please?
you can give me permission.
Yeah.
You can give me permission as chair to sign a MOU with Access Humboldt so that we can request for funding to start getting our meetings online or on Access Humboldt and on Suddenlink every month, as well as be able to have more flexibility to host forums and listening sessions like we've discussed. And there was one other thing that we needed to vote on in that special meeting. Bird, do you remember what that was?
Yes, that's what you read at the beginning of the meeting. We want to be sure that the rest of the commission is happy with that, with the acknowledgement of indigenous lands and the purpose and the way we carry out our purpose as being something that is introduced and written on every agenda, so that is a way that people know who we are and what we're doing, and we're reminded every month on our agenda of what it is that we do and how we do it. So we were introduced to that tonight, and next month we would like to have that approved to be our specific introduction, welcoming to our meetings.
So what I will do after tonight is we'll make a date for that special meeting, and I will send out what Bird wrote and we read, so all of you could add your input if you have something. But we want to get this special meeting done quickly so we can get that MOU signed with Access Humboldt, and so we can start using this messaging on our agendas and all our other avenues. Do any of you have a specific evening next week? And also this is a special meeting, so it has to be put out publicly. We have to go through all the Brown Act process. Is there a day next week, commissioners, that you could give me in the evening that we could have this meeting?
And we're talking about 15 minutes, right?
We're talking like 15 minutes. If everyone goes into the Google Doc and does all the work, puts their opinions in and the input that they want around the messaging through the Google Doc, then all we have to do is vote. And the MOU is just, it's literally just us coming together and going, yes, the chair has permission to sign the MOU. We just can't do it now because we didn't get it on the agenda.
Thursday would work. How does that work for everybody else?
Thursday
That's
at
good.
5.
Works for me.
Yep, me too.
Thursday,
Me
At what
too.
time is
All
that?
right. Thursday at what time?
Thursday at 5 p.m. Like
I
just,
have another board meeting then, sorry, but you can have it without me.
okay,
Well, what,
But you know, I'll just have you know that the rest of the week, I'll be sitting on this couch with absolutely nothing at all to do 24/7, but everything has to happen at the same hour in the day.
Of course.
naturally,
what about Wednesday? Is Wednesday is open for everybody?
Fine
at
for me.
5 o'clock, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's do,
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, all of them are open except for, yeah.
well, let's
How
do,
about, can we do 5:05 just for people that work? You know, a lot of people work and just getting that way you have 5 minutes to switch to
5:30.
5:30. I didn't even, how about
I don't want to
5:15?
do 5:30. I just feel like it's too, then it really takes into our night. If we do 5:05, it gives everyone time. I mean, this is just hopping on the phone
Yeah.
with your camera and voting. I would rather end my day by 5:30.
Works for me.
All right, awesome.
Me too. So is that 5 on the 13th?
That is 5:05 on the 13th, and I will get an agenda and everything out to everybody by tomorrow.
Good.
All right.
Mhm.
Commissioners, do you have any future agenda items that you would like me to consider for next month and further?
Remember, we have 2 minutes to approve
Next time,
Two?
yes.
next time.
Correct.
Right. Okay, I thought I said
It's Lisa. I do kind of well, I guess I'm going to say I'm worried about resources available for people during the winter time for shelter and with the pandemic, just places where people can get meals and or any other kind of support. However, we can share that information out there with people would be helpful.
Well, I would definitely discuss that with Aaron, because what we just did is created the homelessness committee, and Aaron, David, and Mo are a part of that committee. So any ideas that you have or suggestions, Lisa, make sure you share it with them. And also, if you do see anything happening that we can help support, bring it to them so they can bring it to the commission and we can support it. Because that's what all of us need to support each committee like that, because we are so boots on the ground.
But I'm talking about what, or do we, and I'll do that too. Are there resources that we can point people to today or now or anything like that?
There's they do a lot of work out there. There's also Food for People is an amazing resource for our community.
Arcata House Partnership.
The Arcata House Partnership. And does anyone else have any more homelessness resources they'd like to add, or food?
There's Betty Chin, but she doesn't like to work with other people. To her credit, she doesn't need to.
And then and there's always, if they're veterans, there's the veterans places if they're veterans.
Yeah.
All right.
The food, what was the food one?
Food for people.
Food for people. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, that's a great organization.
We also, Lisa, if you go into our Google Drive, we have all our resource lists that we use for the resource cards, or that now DHHS uses, but we have all those numbers and stuff in there. So those are, and if anyone in the community is having a hard time accessing resources for food or shelter, we do, as well as DHHS has a very long resource card to access that. You can also call in Humboldt County 211, and they also have resources. We all share those similar resources. Bird, did you have something to say before we close out?
I would just like to talk to Eddie after this closes.
Okay, I'll be available. Yes.
All right.
I have one quick thing I just wanted to add. I just wanted to put it on keep it on everyone's radar that we have open seats for commissioners on the Human Rights Commission. And so, as we add on a committee, it just reminds me that we need more help. We need more, like you guys were just talking about, boots on the ground to get this work done. So, anybody in the community, this is the time to step up and help support getting some, positive change in our community.
Thank you, David. Very good point. And it's not hard to be a commissioner. The hardest part about being a commissioner is being dedicated to your community and being unbiased and being a we thinker and not a me thinker. It is one of the things that I love about Humboldt County is that it is not that hard to get involved and become a leader. And this commission is a great opportunity for anyone in the community who wishes to impact change. So I would like to call our meeting to order, commissioners, at 7:25 p.m. Thursday, December 7th.
Not to order, but to adjourn.
To adjourn. Yes, I call this meeting to adjourn.
So Lelena, if you shut off,
Motion.
Bird and I won't be able to talk. So stay on. You don't have to be in the room.
I'll stay on, but what I'm going to do is take us off Facebook Live. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Please reach out to us at HumboldtCountyHumanRights.org or hhr@co.humboldt.us. Oh, I may have said that wrong, but look it up online on the county website, and we want to hear what you have to say. Thank you. Good night. All right, you guys, we're off.